everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is to try to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides more balance and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. I hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. I'm fired up today. I have I want to call you a friend. We've had some really good conversations already in this life. I also get to work with you, which has been a blast. The man, the myth, the legend, Michael Chernow is on the podcast. Michael, welcome to the show.
Brother, very excited to be here.
Think you for taking the time. I know you're a busy man. Before we dive in, I like to. This is a newer thing. I used to actually pivot to the guests to give a little intro, but I think I want to make sure I hit on a few things for people listening who don't know who you are. I've always considered you like a serial entrepreneur. You have, and I told you this before we hit record. You have been on some awesome podcasts. You've told your life story, and what I want to make sure today we do is dive into some fun business things that you don't get to talk about maybe as much, just because that's not been the typical thing that you dive deep into. But for everyone listening, I mean, it's so cool to like kind of even quickly walk through your timeline, and we'll dive into some of the specifics. You grew up in New York City, kind of a rough upbringing. As a young kid, you get into the restaurant business. It was funny, like even re-listening some of the podcasts recently that you've been on, I didn't realize how young you were. Like that didn't click in my brain. Like you were, correct me if I'm wrong, what, 12 to 16, you were already working in some restaurants?
Yeah, I got my first job in a restaurant at 12.
That's wild, man. That's so young. I'm thinking about, what was I doing at 12? I was like maybe vacuuming and mowing my yard.
I was definitely hustling, you know.
Yeah. So you did that. You're really your big, like first on the scene thing, the meatball shop, right? That was the first one. So that one, and if anyone's listening, look it up. It's a cool story about you starting really a meatball inspired shop that expanded into a lot of locations around New York City. The one I didn't know, Michael, and I don't know if you've talked about a lot of this, was Seymour's. That was just research that I came up and found. I had no idea you even started that one. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Started Seymour's in New York City, and you did that right after the meatball shop, right?
Yeah, about 10 months after I sold equity at Meatball Shop, I opened up Seymour's and scaled that one.
So you've done this. I mean, I didn't realize you've done this so many times. And then I saw too the fitness drink you started working on. Well.
So they gave me a co-founder title, but I was just there in the early days trying to help them figure out their branding, line up some initial investors, get off the ground. But yeah, that business didn't work out. And they launched in 2016. I opened up Seymour's late 2015. So I was very clear with the founder. Hey, dude, like the product was insane. It was so good. It was fresh watermelon juice and tart cherry. It was so good. Incredible recovery drink, just like an amazing beverage. It tastes so good. And the branding was epic, but I just couldn't give it the time that it deserved to really take on a co-founder title. But I think that they just wanted to kind of just like use my cred a bit just to get the thing off the ground.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, that was really, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, really your first little touch to dip your toe into CPG,
Sure.
At least to like kind of think through a business model.
Yep.
Along this way too, and again, I'm just running through a bunch of stuff here for people for background. You've also, I had no idea. You've been on like a ton of like TV shows. You were on some of the like Food Network. You were a TV host for food porn even back in the day?
I had my own TV show for 2 years.
Like, I feel like when I've talked to you before, I didn't even know any of this. So that was just cool. You've done a lot. So the whole point of me bringing all this up is you've been, I would call you, way more profound than I even realized. Serial entrepreneur. You've done lots of different things. Where I wanted to really kick off the conversation, Michael, was, obviously your life has been, and again, I'll post some links. Like Rich Roll's podcast was fucking awesome. You did a great job on that. And that was just really cool to hear, like a really in-depth, open heart version of your upbringing and the story that it took you to get to where you are today. But for everyone listening, like I've never had someone on here that started a restaurant. I've worked as a server and as a busboy and in the back of the kitchen. Actually, like that was some of the early jobs I had as a kid. So I know what it's like, but if everyone listening has no clue, what was that like starting not even only a business in the food industry, but in the heart of New York City, like kind of that quintessential place to start a restaurant. What was that like? Like just to go back to day one.
It was my dream. It was my dream. You know, I am at my core. I was put on this planet Earth to connect with human beings. It's what I live for. It's what drives me. It's what, you know, I am just, you put me in a room anywhere and I make friends fast. You know, it's just who I am. You know, people are drawn to me and I am drawn to people. I just love people. So the restaurant business, you know, when I got my first job in a restaurant at 12, I just felt like it was just like the perfect environment for me because I could talk to people all night long. I could hustle, be on my feet, which I'd love to be. I mean, the one thing that I would say that I don't love about my current job as the CEO and founder of Kreatures of Habit is that I spend a lot of time on the computer at the desk. It's just the one thing that I wish was different. So my goal for 2026 is to find a way to not be like the success of the business be contingent on how much time I spend on the computer.
Sure. Okay.
So I just got to get out there way more with the brand in real life. I just, I worked in restaurants from 12 to 28 as a technician. You know, I worked every position. I ended up going to culinary school and I also got a degree in restaurant management. So I just knew, you know, once I made that pivotal decision in my life at 23 years old to just get sober and like start taking things seriously, I just knew that I was going to have my own place. And so when it was time, when I was, 28 years old to do it, it just felt right. And quite frankly, like I'm also probably one of the most optimistic, positive dudes you'll ever meet. Like I never ever think of the worst case scenario. I walk through life thinking like everything is going to work out. And not to say that I don't get scared or things can get hairy, but like I always just believe in my heart that it's just always going to work out. And I'm also the kind of guy that will die on the hill. So I've just over the years of being an entrepreneur and an athlete and like I've just watched the longer you stick around, the smaller the pool gets of people that succeed because most people quit.
Yeah,
most people quit. So between my optimism and my like no quit, no matter what mindset, things have worked out,
Yeah. No, I mean, it was funny. One of the things you said in Rich Roll, I actually wrote down was discipline, structure, patience being like the three pillars. I wrote it down in my notes app this morning because I was actually re-listening to that part of the podcast. And I was like, that's so true. Like how many things in life, whether it's business, exercise, nutrition, fitness, I mean, a million different things, family, friends, it like kind of comes down to that. Like just like consistency. I talk about consistency a lot. It really, I think, is a key to just about everything. I laugh, not that it's even relative, but like this podcast, I've been doing it since basically kicked it off the week COVID really like shut down everything. Mm-hmm. And I've just never stopped. And it's not like it's like a super lucrative thing for me. I just love connecting with people and I've just continued doing it. But it opens doors and conversations and
totally,
there's like kind of like an intangible thing. So do you remember kind of like day one, I guess, of like opening the 100%. First meatball shop?
Yeah. My business partner is the exact opposite of me. My business partner at the meatball shop, his name is Dan Holzman. He is a complete skeptic, pessimist, just looks at the worst case scenario in every situation, walks in like we've already failed and like, how are we going to get out of this? So we were standing at the back of the restaurant on opening night. We had paper up on the windows. Our publicist was adamant on us not letting anybody look into the restaurant. Restaurant PR in, 2010 was kind of at its peak. And it was like in New York City, PR in restaurants was, and this is before social media really, it was all about PR. It was all about who exclusively is gonna write about your restaurant. And there's a system. You give New York Times the exclusive, but like you tell everybody else that they've got the exclusive. And so in those days, all those publications were sending spies in pre-launch to try to see if they can get images of the inside of these restaurants.
Whoa! So because they knew you were launching on a Friday, they could launch something on Thursday in their publication.
Exactly. They were like sneak images. So like they were like, hey, you do not let anybody in here. They will try to get in and take pictures, make sure the paper stays up on the windows the whole time. So we were standing at the back of the restaurant. It was opening night. We had a friend and family that night, very strict at the door. It was like very dialed in list. We told everybody they couldn't take pictures. And so interestingly enough, friend and family was a disaster, massive disaster. We actually opened the meatball shop to be a counter service restaurant. We wanted people to like wait online, place your order, get a number, go grab a table. The problem was that there was only 28 seats in the restaurant and 10 seats at the bar. And we had 150 people show up for friend and family.
Oh, shit.
So there was people waiting online, ordering their food, grabbing their number. The first round of people got their food, and then we just didn't know how to do it. We had no idea what we were doing. So basically, people were just getting handed trays of food, standing up, waiting for a table. And we learned very quickly that night that we needed to change the business model. So we had food runners and bartenders because we had a full bar. And I took everybody, after a night of absolute misery for the whole staff, I took everybody and I sat them down and I said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of full service dining. We turned the restaurant into a full service restaurant that night. Wow. And I walked everybody through the system and how it was going to do. Now, luckily, the cashiers at the counter were already trained up on the spiel, is what we called it. So like how to walk people through the menu and how to order. So I just said, hey, like, we're going to turn those point of sale systems around. Ooh, look at that.
Look at that.
Hey. We're going to turn those point of sales around. And then, all the cashiers turned into servers. And I said, instead of standing at the cashier, delivering the spiel, we're going to do that at the tables. And anyway, at the end, I was a little bit nervous about that, but I felt pretty good. Everybody left feeling pretty confident. Everybody came in earlier that day. We walked through the whole system again, how it was going to work. And Daniel and I were standing at the back of the restaurant. It was 5:00. At 5:30, we were going to rip the paper off the windows and open for business.
Okay.
And so we had not looked outside. Daniel and I were standing there, and I was like, damn, when we take that paper off the windows, there's going to be a line of people down the block waiting to eat here. And he was like, dude, when we take that picture, that paper off the windows, nobody's going to be outside and we're going to be twiddling our thumbs. And I was like, I'm just telling you, man, I got a good feeling about this.
Oh, wow. It's wild that you guys could just bet on this because you didn't know.
5:30 hit. We took the paper off the windows and there was over 200 people online to eat.
Whoa.
Went down the block and all the way up on Eldridge Street towards almost hitting Houston. So we were on Stanton and we were on Stanton Street between Allen and Orchard. The line went from the front of the restaurant down to Orchard and all the way up to Houston Street. It was insane.
What do you think drove all that?
PR.
Okay, it was
our
PR.
publicist.
Yeah.
Our publicist.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
we had a really good story. I mean, I guess that kind of leads me into this idea that when it comes to business, authenticity is a word that gets tossed around a lot, right? But the fact of the matter is that for good reason. Is authenticity and a story, in my opinion, are necessary for a business to actually resonate with a large group of people. You can get away with look, a new vintage shirt is never going to be as valuable as a vintage shirt, right?
Yes, true.
So when you see those fake vintage shirts, you're like, that's not what I'm looking for. But then you see that awesome vintage shirt with a band on it that you love that was worn at the fucking concert in 1989. you're like, oh my God, I want that shirt. And then you go look at the price tag and it's like $700. And you're like, I understand. Like, there it is. It's a story. It's real. And then what happens with that vintage shirt is like you potentially don't buy it if you don't have the cash to buy it, but you always think about wanting it.
That is so true, man.
You're just like, God, man, I remember I found this shirt. It was such a sick shirt. And you just never forget seeing that shirt, right? So that's what we try. That's what I try to do with business. My goal is I'm not going to launch something. I'm not going to bring something to market unless it has a real story, like a real story behind it. And that story is stood up by me and my community that know me and know the story.
Okay.
And so the meatball shop, Daniel and I were childhood best friends. We got a job in a restaurant together. We both worked at the same restaurant. I was 12. He was 13. He answered the delivery phones. I did the deliveries, and we worked in restaurants together through high school. And he went off to work in fancy kitchens, and I went off and worked in really cool downtown New York City restaurants. And when he went to California, we took about 10 years apart. He came back to New York. I begged him to come back to open this restaurant with me. And we built the restaurant together. We did it together. The meatballs came from, I worked in this Italian restaurant for 8 years. And, my family meal every night was the rigatoni ragu. That was the best dish at this restaurant. I would take the rigatoni out and I would just have meatballs and sauce with a side of broccoli, side of spinach, and a beet salad was typically my dinner.
Wow, look at you.
And I turned that into a restaurant, man, and so we opened up a New York City restaurant. People were like, oh, meatball shop is Italian restaurant. I'm like, no, like Italian inspired, but it is a New York City restaurant. This is like a real New York City restaurant.
Yeah.
And people loved it, man. You walk into the meatball shop, there'd be Biggie Smalls playing, and it was it was a very special place, that little restaurant,
I feel like that's one of those things where it doesn't matter what you end up doing the rest of your life. I feel like that'll always be a special place.
Special place, man. Put me on the map, really put me on the map.
What do you think? I've heard some of the stories you shared as an entrepreneur now, like just with your business hat on. What was like the biggest surprise to you of opening a restaurant like that, and like what surprise and I guess lesson that you took from it that you just didn't think you would have ever learned?
Well, it's interesting. So, I didn't go to college. I didn't go to business school. I had no real sort of like business acumen outside of like the hustle in New York City. But I worked around the clock.
Okay.
I mean, I worked 7 days a week, 18 hours a day for way too long. And it was because I was young. I thought that the more hours I worked, the more successful I was going to be. I also had this idea that like the restaurant was always going to run better when I was there, which is true for sure. However, as an entrepreneur and looking to scale and keep your sanity, I think you have to get comfortable with like 90% optimization, right?
Okay.
Like,
sure. Yeah.
It's your business. You own it. You are always going to care about it more and treat it better than anyone else. And that's not because the people that you surround yourself with aren't great, but it's just a fact. You are always going to be a little bit, just potentially 10% better than everybody else, right? If not, and if you don't know how to find great people, way more than 10% better. So in those early days, that was what I thought. The more I worked, the better we'd do. And it was to my detriment. I worked way too much and I didn't make time for anything else in my life. I was doing push-ups in the bathroom. I was running to work over the Williamsburg Bridge to get my fitness in. And my wife lost me. She didn't know who I was, and eventually 2 years in, I remember when we took our first time, Daniel and I, probably around the 18-month mark, the two of us were at the restaurant around the clock. We never left. We just didn't leave. Like, you knew that if you came to the meatball shop, you saw Dan and Mike. Period. Done. We were always there.
Wow.
That was it.
Okay.
7 days a week.
And that's like just when the doors are open. I'm sure there was stuff to do when the doors
No,
weren't open.
I would get there at, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't leave until, 4 or 5 o'clock at night because we stayed open till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I remember around the 18-month mark, I sat, the restaurant was in a lull. It was probably at like 10 o'clock at night after like the main dinner rush. Few tables in there. I said to Dan, I was like, dude, I think we could go smoke a cigar. Like, let's go take a walk up to 7th Street and like leave the restaurant and go smoke a cigar. And like, that was like the big break, like,
Well,
let's
that's
go
cool
smoke.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be like a poster.
So we just decided, hey, like let's go treat ourselves. So we left. There was a cigar bar on 7th Street that I used to love before I opened the meatball shop. And we went in there, we had a cigar, we came back, and everything was cool. Everybody was cool. And like I guess that's a long way of saying, you could burn out very, very quickly as an entrepreneur, and you could overwork unnecessarily. And if you're not smart about the hours that you put in, there's a good chance that the extra hours will kill you.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and make you want to quit. So setting boundaries as an entrepreneur because you don't have a boss, in my opinion, is really, really necessary. I have a start time now. I have an end time. And in between that start and end time, I'm super efficient. My schedule is completely time blocked. There are hours throughout the day where I do not take meetings. There are hours throughout the day where I do take meetings. It's very, very efficient.
Nice.
And it's typically a 9-hour day. And I do not work on the weekends unless it's absolutely necessary. So I've created this super efficient schedule for myself with boundaries so that I am able to have balance in my life. And you'll talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, or you'll hear, like if you listen to Hermosi, that guy's going to tell you that there's no balance. It's just all or nothing, And I just wholeheartedly disagree with him. Now I'm different than him, where I don't find it necessary to be a billionaire. Like that's not going to fill my cup. What's going to fill my cup is being able to do what I love to do, which is be with my family, top of the list. Love spending time with my wife and kids. My wife is my best friend. My kids are my life. And, that is a priority for me. The priority for me before my business and everything else. And the only thing that I will say makes that priority possible is the amount of time I spend on my self-care and self-love stuff. So like I wake up earlier than everybody in my family to get that stuff done. But my business, I have found a balance. I have found a way to have a great life and also a great business. Now, could my business be doing more revenue if I wasn't married with kids and cared about them? Absolutely. No doubt. Like if I was spending, probably 10 to 12 hours on the business and not caring about having dinner with the family, like would I be able to get things done faster? Yes. Admittedly. I'm okay with a little bit of a slower growth because I believe in balance, and I want to be able to, look back on my life and say, wow, like I had dinner with my kids every single night.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah, and I don't work I'm not like a 9 to 5er. I'm an entrepreneur, and I have dinner with my kids every night because I very strategically like focused on creating that possibility for myself. I didn't.
Yeah. Sorry, you framed that up so well for the record. That whole thing will probably end up being a clip. That was what a good answer. Because I mean, transparently, the one thing I've realized from hearing stories on this podcast for so long and then starting my own business is I've actually started to believe that being an entrepreneur is not really a choice. It's going to sound funny to say, but I think a lot of people want to start a business for sure. But like to be an entrepreneur, I think you really have to be like, you have to have this weird obsession with something that you just like, it's all you think about. That's all you want to do. And it just happens to be a business. Right?
Yeah. Well, the other thing about being an entrepreneur that I think is magical is that like entrepreneurs are able to actually have an idea and like bring it to life.
Right.
Like
yeah, right.
One day you're walking down the street and an idea pops into your mind. Like you said, the obsession clicks in and then you just don't stop until it's a reality.
Yes.
And that is like you said, very, very accurately, it's impossible for me to come up with an idea that I have the audacity to think is a real viable one, but I can't and won't stop if that idea is strong enough in my mind to until it's a reality.
Yeah. And I know that just from knowing you for a little bit, like I feel that from you and all the stuff you work on. Do you think it's actually a competitive advantage that you have a wife and kids?
I think that it grounds me. You know what I mean?
Sure,
I think it grounds
100%.
me. And I think that the fact is like I said, my number one priority is my family, and I really enjoy doing nice things with them. And I really want to have like a super comfortable home life with like, I don't need fancy shit, but I like to have a nice home, and I want them to feel supported. And, my wife, we've chosen for my wife to not work anymore. She doesn't work. She's a full-time mom, and we don't have a nanny. She loves just doing it all. And I think that for my kids, like, that's incredible.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. Do I think it's a competitive advantage? Yes, because I've got these ideals for my family, and I will make them happen.
Yeah, the impetus for that is it's funny. We have a lot of similarities in that regard. Like that's exactly I could like say ditto to all of that. I've worked really hard to build the exact same thing that you're talking about, to try to have these times that are just like non-negotiable with my kids and my wife. I'm sure you feel the same way. I have a 2.5-year-old son, a 1-year-old son, and then a baby girl on the way, and it's already. I'm like, how the fuck has it been almost 3 years with Grayson, my oldest? I'm like, time's flying. I'm like, I can totally see how I'm going to look up and he's going to be like packing for college. It's going to feel like tomorrow. And I know, I'm sure you feel this way. I feel like this is a challenge of entrepreneurship. You want them to be taken care of and happy. And I think that's why we work hard. But I guess the competitive advantage question came from, you have such a bigger why than someone I think that doesn't have, like, if it's just financial, like if your why is just to build a massive business and be a billionaire, sure. I mean, that can fuel you for a long time. But I argue some of the most impressive entrepreneurs I've ever met, they actually have a wife and kids, and that's their why. They want to do something for something bigger than them. So I just applaud you for that. I think it's a challenging thing. I know I fight it all the time. So good for you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. So the meatball shop, I know how that ends. You've shared that a couple times. I'd love to pivot to Kreatures, because obviously this is what you're working on now, and this is a huge opportunity, massive market. First of all, you guys have some awesome creative things in the works, and also it's just a phenomenal product. Before we hopped on, I mean, I've told you I've been having Kreatures of Habit consistently for a long time, but over the last couple months, I mean, it's like religiously every single day. The funny thing is, I actually ran out, just totally forgot to reorder recently, and I had a morning where I didn't have it, and I was like falling apart. I'm like, what do I eat? What do I?
Well, it's so interesting. So like, I developed Kreatures of Habit because I really believe that our success in life is truly contingent on the decisions that we make in the morning.
Yes.
It's just the fact. It's just, like, you get one day to live. That's just reality. Like, you can't live yesterday. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. So you really get one day to put the numbers up. And it starts from the moment you open your eyes in the morning. And so if I can give people a little win, consistent, that like saves time, brings positivity and nutrition to their life, is optimized, it's super easy and convenient. Like, I was like, this is a no-brainer for me. It's what I've been eating for now at this point, almost 21 years every day. I mean, it's what I eat. And that's why I made the business out of, I felt so confident in this product. But at the end of the day, you don't realize how convenient it is, and how much of how much easier it makes your morning until it's gone.
Yeah,
right? Like,
for sure.
Like, there's been times where I'd like get to a hotel, I have my Kreatures, I'm bummed out because there's no refrigerator in the room, and I don't like eating it hot. It's just me. I'm just like not a big fan of it hot. So I'm like, fuck. And then in the morning, I got to figure out what to do. It's just,
it's the whole thing.
I never, ever think about my first meal of the day, ever. Like, it is always taken care of. It takes me 30 seconds to make. It's so I find it to be super delicious. It gets me 30 grams of protein. I get all the D3 and the omegas. Like, it's an all-in-one thing that's just so tasty.
It's unbelievable. And honestly, it was funny. Actually, the guys you're going to meet tomorrow, they were both texting me. They're like, which one should I try? They wanted to both buy some. And I'm like, just get whatever one you want. First of all, if one sounds good, but get the variety pack because they're all phenomenal. Like, and I'm not blowing smoke. You know, I've obviously known you for a little bit. They're all really good. Like, you've been very thoughtful about each of the flavors. There's so many brands that have like a proliferation of flavors, and inevitably a few of them you could tell they just like launched another flavor for the sake of a flavor. You've never done that.
We didn't even say what it is. We should say what it is.
We should say what it is. Yes. Okay.
So
yeah, you go for it.
You know, Kreatures is a high protein overnight oatmeal. It's made with gluten and glyphosate free oats. It's got 30 grams of plant-based protein, a mix of fava and pea protein. It's got chia seeds, flax seeds, and pumpkin seeds for omega-3 fatty acids. Those seeds also add texture and flavor. It's got a probiotic. It's got digestive enzymes and vitamin D3 for gut health and heart health. And we make it in 7 flavors. It's super easy to make. And it's just like, you know, I've literally put all my eggs in that basket. That's the facts.
That's the facts. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I always say when I explain it to somebody, it's an overnight oat product. It's so much more than that. And this isn't meant to be a sales pitch, but the first time I got it in my hands, it's so dense, Michael. Like, it's just like there's so much there's so much food, there's so much product in it, and it's all this healthy combination of so much. So yes, it's oats. But so I personally, I know a lot of people do this. I put fruit in mine too. Like, typically I'll throw at least like a banana and maybe blueberries and stuff in it. You get done. You ate a lot. Like, you're full. You're ready for the day. I love it. I usually have it like after I train. I don't know if that's normal or what if you do it before.
Yeah, well, I have it post-workout pretty much every day. Or if I'm working out a little bit later in the morning, which is rare, but if I do, it'll be my pre-workout meal. But it's only 350 calories. So it's a low-calorie meal, but it's a meal. It's not a snack. Like, I mean, I know some people that use it as a snack, but for the most part, unless you're like really going for it and it's really a meal, and it's incredibly satiating. You know, the beta glucan in oats really just sort of like throw up the satiation flag. So, you know, I appreciate you saying all those nice things, man.
It's really true though. All of it. Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. And one of the things I think that's interesting to kick off talking about Creatures of Habit that I wanted to start with is, you know, like, you've been in the restaurant business, like you said, at this point for so long. Like, that's really what you've known and done. And then, again, people can listen to the whole background of why you got into oats. It's an awesome story, and, you know, it's kind of an amazing place that brought you to launching it. But ultimately, like, I'd love to go a little step deeper, which is just everyone has ideas. You even hit on it. Like, people walk down the street every day, have an idea. The difference is most people don't act and actually bring them to life. So for you, do you remember, whether it was like telling your wife, telling a friend, do you remember when you were like, hey, I'm gonna take this concept of what I eat every morning. It's differentiated enough. Like, I'm gonna turn this into a business. Like, it's such a big leap. Do you remember that day?
100%. I remember that day. I was on a run, and I was deep in. Initially, so just a tiny little backstory. Creatures of Habit was initially going to be a restaurant. I was going to launch a wellness brand, I'm a wellness restaurant in New York City. There's not a lot of wellness restaurants in New York. You can get, go to Sweet Greens, you get salads, but there wasn't like a dope restaurant that was just healthier, better for you.
Okay.
Most healthy restaurants in New York are like vegan restaurants where they kind of look like a healthy restaurant. They smell like a healthy restaurant. Like, there's tapestry on the wall. You know what I'm talking about. Patchouli, that whole vibe, which is great for that community. But I wanted to create a restaurant that people would be stoked to come on a date to, bring their family to, just have dinner at the bar, where the ingredients that we use just happen to be better for you. Not a ton of fat and, Anyway, I had lined up this whole business. And the goal with this restaurant was, after opening up 13 restaurants in New York, I kind of learned that scaling restaurants was not something that I loved to do, because I loved the hand-to-hand combat and being in the store, in the restaurant, connecting with the customers and the guests. And when I was scaling restaurants, my role became way more about dealing with landlords and trying to lock in, like lease deals, and managing crews, construction crews, and design. And I was in the restaurants less and less and less, and it was stressful for me because I felt like I couldn't be at all the restaurants. I just felt like I needed to be at all of them, and I wanted to be at all of them, but I couldn't be at all of them. Anyway, I just knew that I didn't want to scale restaurants anymore. So I was gonna open up Creatures of Habit as this one restaurant, maybe do another one in LA. But the trajectory of the restaurant was going to be CPG. So we were gonna make products in the restaurant, sauces, overnight oats, breads, things like that we would be able to like freeze and sell in traditional retail, or make a sauce line. And then we were going to have a little retail component of the restaurant where people would be able to come, on their way out and just kind of browse and be like, oh, I had that sauce, I want to take that home with me. Seeing what the guests were picking up and taking home with them, and then ultimately investing in those things through traditional CPG and retail. Well, the pandemic hit.
That's right.
And this was in 2020, and the whole thing came crashing down. And I had just exited Seymour's in late 2019, so I had a financial kind of pillow that I was like kind of resting on. And I said, you know what, Donna, to my wife, let's take the kids. We'll move to our house in upstate New York, or we'll go up there for, we'll weather the storm, and I'll kind of try to think about like what the next thing is. And I hired an executive coach, and
can we sorry not to cut you off? Can we click into that? Because that in itself, like I've never heard you talk about this. Was that that had been a little scary? Like as a dad, husband, you're supporting everybody. Was that like a weird time for you?
I got to be honest, man. Like I told you that I'm just like an overly optimistic guy.
Yeah.
And I have like this no matter what kind of way of walking through life. As a matter of fact, like it was kind of exciting for me.
Okay.
Because I thought that it would give me an opportunity. Now, remember, I've been working in restaurants from 12. I was 39 in 2020. And I was turning 40 that year. And I was like, I've been working in restaurants for 28 years.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Like at that point, right? Like I was like, man, like I know this is a weird way to think about this massive catastrophic, situation that we're in, but is this my pivot moment? And that's when I hired my friend Megan Dolce. She is like an unbelievable coach. And she helped me lay down all of the existing sort of circumstances, all the things, all of my strengths, all of my weaknesses. And she made it very clear to me that I am a creative entrepreneur. I am not a restaurateur.
Okay.
Restaurateur is part of my journey, but the 30,000 foot view is I'm just a creative entrepreneur. Restaurant was a medium for me for the last, as an entrepreneur at that point for the last 10 years, right? And I'd been successful there. She said, chances are you can bring your creative energy to another medium and be equally as successful. And so that's when I like my juices started flowing. And my creative process when it comes to ideation has been movement. So what I do is I will go, like if I need to rethink a menu, like if I need to like in the restaurants, if I was like, all right, fall's coming, it's like June, I want to kind of start thinking about the fall menu. I will go out on runs anywhere from like 3 to 5 miles, no headphones, with a pen and pad. And I'll just like focus on, okay, let's just start thinking about this. And I come up with an idea. I stop, pull up my pad, I write it down, put my
like literal pen and paper. You're just running with a pen and
paper. Yeah.
Cool.
No distractions, just pen and paper and the road. And I will do this until I start to really feel like this idea is starting to take shape in a vision. Whether it's a menu, whether it's a new business model, whether it's introducing something new to the company at some capacity. In this case, it was my career.
Yeah.
And so I took 3 months, and I really went deep on it. And so the creative process for me is really kind of doing that and getting out there. And I find that like when I'm moving, whether it's walking or jogging, without distractions, I'm really able to think, really able to put pen to paper. And I was on a run and I was like, man, I know CPG. At that point, I had kind of decided that I was going to keep the brand Creatures of Habit. I was going to draw a line through the restaurant, but how was I going to launch this business? I had never thought about launching into CPG. I had always thought that the restaurant was the bridge and catalyst to CPG. So how was I going to do it out of nowhere, coming up with a brand, a CPG brand, and coming out with a product that was exciting and unique enough to get people to want to, pay attention to it. And I was on this run and I just, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. It's been in front of my face this whole time. I've been taking pictures of my oatmeal every morning and sharing it on social media, giving people this this motivation to say, hey, like be consistent, commit to something that is going to make you feel good, that is going to optimize your life. Like I was talking a lot about habits, creatures of habit, and I was like, it's been right here. This is it. Like I am going to take my oatmeal. Now, the story of why I started eating oatmeal is pretty passionate for me, but I was going to take this, like, if I can get at that point, it was like 16 ingredients, including my daily supplement stack. I was like, man, if I can get all those ingredients into a pouch wrap it with a really cool brand, not only do I think I have a business, but it'll also give me an opportunity to tell my story. That anybody can change no matter what, no matter how far down the line, down the rope you think you are, no matter how old you are, change is possible. And it all starts with little wins and commitment to those little wins in the beginning of the day. And I got back from that run and I said, Donna, I think I figured it out. And she was like, okay, like, what do you got? And I was like, oatmeal. I'm going to create a business around my oatmeal. And she thought, like she always does, she's like, you're crazy, but I'm going with it. Like,
yeah,
go for it.
You're crazy, but I trust you.
Yeah. And so that's when I started, man. That night I put a couple $100,000 into a bank account. I started calling everybody I knew in the world of CPG. One other thing that I'll say, for entrepreneurs, some of the greatest entrepreneurs, if not the greatest entrepreneurs in the world, are just not uncomfortable asking for help. Like I ask for way more help than I'm comfortable asking for, because I've just learned that, like, put it this way, once I had the idea for Creatures of Habit and I had the brand and we had made some really cool pieces of apparel to launch the business with, the first person I went to for investment, and I didn't know this guy super well at the time, was Gary Vaynerchuk.
That was like, you didn't even know him that well.
I mean, I knew him, but like we weren't like tight.
Yeah, not like, can you give me some money for some oatmeal?
Right. But I was like, you know what? Like, if there's one person that I think can really help me here, it would be Gary Vee. Like, his platform, his audience. Like my goal with Creatures of Habit is to not only give people an amazing tool to add to their arsenal, whether you're just starting your wellness journey or you're a savage and you just want to simplify your breakfast. But like, the idea was like, I think that, like, in my mind at that time, I was like, I'm going to make oatmeal cool again.
Okay. Oh,
or just in general. I was like, I made meatballs cool. I made sustainable seafood cool. If I think I can make oatmeal cool. Like, I think I can make people excited about oatmeal. And
that's a great that makes a ton of sense now, thinking in hindsight. That's exactly what you did too.
Yeah, I wrapped it with a cool brand, with a cool message. In your face wellness is kind of like how I describe it. It's in your face wellness. It's not wellness like whitewash walls, practices, sage burning in the background, and like it's wellness that anybody can get behind. And I was like, man, like Gary's not like a wellness guy, but he's a make shit cool guy.
Yeah.
And let me see what he says. And I pitched it to him and he was like, I'm in right away. I'm in.
Love that.
I'm in.
He seems like that kind of guy too. I think I told you I met him like super quick once at the RX Bar office when he came in, actually. And he's exactly what you see online. Like I'm sure he just was like, I'm not going to overthink this. Yep, I'm in.
He was like, where do I sign? Where do I sign?
Okay.
And so he was the first money in, and that was it. I was off to the races,
Okay. So, I mean, how long was it from time you get home from the run to getting a yes from Gary? Do you know?
It was probably a good 8-9 months. I mean, I wanted to deliver a package to him. Yeah, I wanted to say, this is the business, But my creative process after after the idea comes, I'm locked in on it. I immediately, and this might be old school, but this is what I do. I immediately go onto Pinterest and I start putting together a vision board. And,
cool.
I'll start with colors and typography and imagery. My initial sort of idea for meal one, Creatures of Habit, was like, I was inspired by like old boxing posters, and I spent 12 years doing Muay Thai. So like that sport, I wanted to like start thinking about how the brand was going to feel, so I start with colors, typography, words, and I just start throwing shit onto a board. And it's just like, I'm just like going ham. I'm just like, I click into something, I like it, I add it to the board, I see what's below it, I just start adding shit. And I have, hundreds of pieces of, sort of inspirational things to look at, because I'm a vision guy. Things to look at. And then it just started coming to me, man. And it just started coming to me. And and then I started, and then once I feel good about that, then once I say I'm going to do it, it's happening.
Yeah.
But I don't say I'm going to do it until I get it to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm confident in this. Like, I am going to do this. Until then, I keep it all here. And on the computer, I'll write about it, but I will not share it. I think that's another big mistake that a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs make, is that they tell everybody they know that they're going to do this thing, and then they lose momentum, and people lose confidence in them because they say they're going to do something and they just don't do it. Right. So like my advice there is like, have as many ideas as you want, write them down, do what I do with them, go for a run, write shit down, go on Pinterest, create a vision board so that you can start seeing this thing. But don't tell everybody no until you're like, okay, I'm going for this. I feel that this is right. This is my thing. I'm going to do it. Because then people, don't take you seriously when you're actually ready. I love that.
Yeah, that's some great advice, because that's probably the flip of what the average person who thinks about starting something. It's like the first thing they want to do is get all the feedback in the world from everyone, and they probably haven't even thought through it themselves.
Yeah, like you are the person that is going to bring it to fruition. You are the person that's going to attract the team around you. Don't get feedback on something until you feel confident in what it looks like.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, of course.
So,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I did, man.
Yeah. That's wild. And then to like go to the impetus of starting to sell, where did you start selling it? Like where was some of the first sales outlets? And at that point, did you kind of have a plan of where you wanted to sell this long term?
Yeah. I mean, I knew that we were going to sell it online. That was and Gary introduced me to Victor.
Oh, okay.
Who
Yeah.
Gary was the Victor intro, and Victor and I, even though Victor and I couldn't be more different, I looked at him and I saw an assassin.
Yeah. You guys are like a yin and a yang.
Yeah. Like I saw like a guy that just simply does not want to lose.
Yes.
Like does not want to lose. He's not the guy that's going to come to the race needing to win the race, but he will not come close to losing.
That's a good way to describe him.
Yeah. And I love that about that guy. Like, he and I work so well together. We're not like best friends. There's not a lot of lovey-dovey high fives and hugs. He is all business, and I love that about him. And he is truly a sniper. Like that's how I think of Victor, as just like the guy that is just like waiting and just is so like accurate, and he is the guy that sees all of the bad shit that can happen, so he's got all of his ducks in a row before he pulls the trigger. And it's great because he is my guardrails. And so I launched the business with Victor. Victor was like my right hand when we launched the business, and we did it on Meta and Google. Gary was a big part of getting us off, announcing that he's part of the business. And we had we created a subscription for the first, subscribers called the Great 28, where you order 28 pouches of oats. I give you a fitness program, a nutrition program. We get on Zoom calls with Gary. It's very cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
It's quite a program. Yeah. Well, I didn't know you guys did that at the beginning.
Yeah, and some of those people are still with us,
I could see it. It'd be hard to give it up now. Like it is one of those products that once you start using it consistently, it'd be hard to get it out of your repertoire. It'd be very tough. So you launch, you go on, you do D2C. You guys have obviously built a very strong D2C business. You're now on Amazon. Where do you see it going now? Like, do you see this being in retail? Do you like keeping it D2C? Where do you kind of see the future of Creatures of Habit from a sales perspective?
What I love about D2C is that something that I do, I need to connect with the consumer. Like, it's so important to me to connect with the consumer, and you can do that when you have a D2C brand, right? Like, I open up my Shopify store a couple days a week, and I just start calling customers.
That's cool. I've heard you say this before. That's wild. Yeah, like at the level you guys are at, like that's so cool that you.
But the crazy thing is that it's so not wild. It's like so human.
Yes.
Right.
It's actually you'd think that's actually the job of the founder should probably be to stay in touch with your most loyal customers
as much as you possibly can. Like I'm right now. I go onto my orders. There's so many people here that have been with us for 36 months, 40 months, I'm looking at this, and for me, it's just so incredible to just have all these people. I'm literally looking at this right this second, that I can just call up and just say, I'm the founder of the company. We've only been around for, 3.5 years. You've ordered 36 times.
That's cool.
I just need to express my the most gratitude I have in my heart to you right now. I wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to let you know that there's a real guy behind this, and I wanted to let you know how grateful I am for you.
That's badass, man. That's super cool. I'm sure is 99% of the reactions like, wait, is this really Michael? Are you really calling
Yes, me? They're all like,
sure.
Is this a bot? I'm like, no. No, this is me. This is my phone number. Now you have it. Like, anything you ever want to connect, you got my number. Shoot me a buzz. And people love that. And the stories that I've gotten, man, the way like, I know what it's done for my life,
sure.
Like in some ways, really, oatmeal really did save my life. And
oh yeah.
But to hear the stories of other people that have started using Meal One and, were 380 pounds and on statins, and their cholesterol was through the roof, and they were scared for their life. And, they started using Meal One a year ago, and it gave them an opportunity to start putting positivity into their body in, early part of the day, ultimately dominoing into making better nutritional decisions throughout the rest of the day, have lost 100 pounds, 150 pounds off their statins, changed lives. I've spoken to many people that have had that experience. And then I've also spoken to savages, right, who are like CrossFit Games athletes that are like, yeah, man, I take this everywhere I go. Like, it is such a no-brainer for me. I travel a lot, and like, the hardest thing for me when I travel is my nutrition. Having, sometimes I'll eat 3 bags of Meal One a day because I just can't, I'm not willing to just like eat some shitty hotel lobby meal,
Right. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's true. You have a product that, it's funny, like, my background at RX Bar, it resonates a lot with me, where like, you have kind of like the savage, you said perfect, CrossFit consumer that I'm sure uses this for fuel, but it also just checks the boxes for so many different dietary things that a lot of people who just want to be healthier could use. And the use case of it just being like a daily routine, that's like, you see some of the products that have really taken off over the last decade plus, and most of them have that as a consistent thing, which is there's some sort of routine mechanism, whether it's even something like Poppy, like that was, the average the consumers were just drinking a lot of soda. And so like now that daily soda that someone was having became a Poppy type of
Well,
thing.
I think the other component of the business, which makes it super viable, is the fact that like the founder is the number one fan. Like,
sure.
I use this product every single day. I'm going to be 45. I'm in the best shape of my life. It's fueled my life. Like I remember
100%.
as a kid, there was a commercial that was like, hair club for men. I'm not, I'm not just the owner. I'm a customer. And then the guy's got a full head of hair, like that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Right.
I'm living the life.
It's authentic.
I'm deeply committed to the world of better living. And, if everybody were to walk 10,000 steps a day and have meal one for breakfast in the morning, we'd be in a very, very different place as a country,
No shit. Yeah. Maybe that. Yeah. I was going to say, we need to get Maha over here. This is like, maybe we should just swap Creatures of Habit in for all this crap we're trying to get rid of. Right. So, okay. A good rundown of that. The one question I would love to ask, you said you put money in the beginning, you raised money. Gary Vee was obviously a part of that. A lot of folks that listen to this are potentially thinking about getting into entrepreneurship. Definitely CPG, definitely like a big CPG following of the podcast. So want to quickly ask you, I know we're getting tight on time. How would you recommend, like the process you went through, if you did it all over again, would you do it the same way where like at first you put your own capital in, you got it to a point and then you're like, hey, to go the next level, I need to go raise some capital. Would you have tried to bootstrap it further? Would you have raised earlier? Like if you did it all over again, now that you've been through that, what's your perspective?
Well, I think I would have spent money a little differently. Now understanding how Meta and Google work and, like, and now also ultimately like what potential investors look for.
Oh, okay.
But any entrepreneur that wants to get into business if I meet somebody who's like, I'm starting a company, I haven't done this before, I'm not putting any money in. It's like a hard stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just a hard stop. I have notoriously in all my businesses always put 10% of the money in.
Yeah.
And obviously now, like, as we scale, it's harder for me to put 10% in every round, but I kick off the business with 10% of what I'm looking to raise. And so for Creatures of Habit, I wanted to raise 2 million. I put in 200 grand. Now I know it's easier to say that when you have it, right? But I would just say that if you don't have money to put into your business, it's going to be hard for investors to really want to, in my opinion, really want to throw a bunch of money into it without you having skin in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Makes total sense. I mean,
that's my experience. It could be, I do know guys that have started businesses without putting money in. For me, I've got a lot of money in Creatures of Habit.
Okay.
This business working out is super duper important for me, not only because I believe in it and it's my life and I want it to be successful and I want it to reach as many people as possible, but yeah, man, I've put like a lot more than 200 grand into it over the last 4 years, so, and I believe that like I do that because I want to own as much equity as possible, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And B, like it drives me, like I want to at minimum 10x my money.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm like, hey, and the way I see Creatures of Habit, like hopefully it's way more than 10xing my money.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense.
I don't think investors would have taken me as seriously as they have if I hadn't invested.
Yeah, I mean, you put a serious amount of money in to get it started, and otherwise investors are taking all of the weight of your your idea that you're trying to prove out. So that makes a ton of sense. I mean, that's I would say the average entrepreneur that I talk to probably has not like leaned in that heavy into their own business on average. That especially CPG food and bev products.
Yeah, I mean, I think investors see that from me. Yeah, they're like, sure. All right, this guy's putting his money where his mouth is, Exactly. And yeah, I've sold businesses before, so I'm not like sitting on mountains of money, but I've worked my ass off. But the first business, meatball shop, I begged, borrowed, and steal to put $20,000 into that thing, and that's what I started it with, $20,000. You know, between Daniel and I, we both put in 20 grand, and we raised 400. So we both, between the two of us, put up.
Oh, good for you.
10% of the round. And
yeah. That's a good easy math to remember too for everyone listening. I mean, that's like enough where it's meaningful, and you're definitely a big piece of the pie. And depending on how much that is you're raising. I mean, so speaking of, I know we're getting into time here, so I want to make sure I squeeze this in, is the equity crowdfunding that you're going to do with Creatures of Habit. I want to make sure we save some time and you plug that and talk about it. So to tease everybody, there's going to be some crowdfunding going on with Creatures of Habit. So everyone listening, I will obviously add, I'll links to it and share that out as part of the podcast. But would you mind giving everyone a little bit of a rundown of why we're doing a crowdfunding for Creatures and what's involved?
Yeah. So we're doing a crowdfund. Somebody had stopped me about 6 months ago. We weren't looking to raise money. Someone stopped me about 6 months ago and said, "Hey, like, you've got such an awesome community with your personal brand and with Creatures of Habit. Like, have you ever thought of a crowdfund and like given your fans an opportunity to be in business with you?"
Sure.
And I was like, "No, actually, I haven't thought about that." And because I always kind of thought as crowdfunding being like a very early stage startup thing or a last resort. And when I started really digging into it, I saw all these incredible brands that I know and love so well that have been very successful in crowdfunding. And so I became obsessed with understanding what a crowdfund really is and how it could really benefit the business and make our greatest customers and raving fans owners.
Hell yeah.
And so I was like, what better way than to grow this company to the place where I see it going than with the people that are like obsessed with it?
Yeah.
Right.
The same people that you're calling, the same people that are ordering over.
Let them be an owner. Bring them on the journey with me. Let them be an owner, an investor, and let them not only like, use this as a tool for their life optimization and better living lifestyle, but like let them make some money.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So cool. I found a really great agency. And look, and I also want to make a mention, right? Like, I don't think crowdfunding is for everyone. I think because I've worked so hard on building community over the last, 15 years of my life, I do have an audience that I can present this to and people will get excited about, right? Because typically when you think about investing in a company, like, the minimum check size is like 25 grand, right? With a crowdfund, the minimum check size is like $500,
Yeah. Which, there you go. I mean, think about whether you're going to invest in a stock or anything. This has the potential for a way bigger return, right? I mean, totally. That's the big thing here. Yeah.
So I just said, hey, you know what? I spoke to Vic, I spoke to the team, and I was like, I really think we should do a crowdfund. And I got introduced to a marketing agency that only focuses on crowdfunding and walks you through the whole process. And so I retained them. And yeah, we're going to launch the crowdfund on, when is this podcast you think going to go live?
We can have it come out whenever. Usually it's a week or so after recording, but we could time it to be just like, however long before. Maybe we do it like within a week of it going live just to drive interest.
Well, I think we should just do it once it goes live, right?
Or that's even better. Yeah.
We're launching the podcast, the crowdfund on July 15th. So maybe the week of July 21st, we drop this thing. That's the following week. And if you want to learn more about it, the link is Creatures of Habit. That's Creatures with a K, creaturesofhabit.com/crowd. And that will bring you right to the campaign page. And, we're like even though we're 3.5, almost 4 years in, there's so much opportunity and so much growth ahead of us with launching the protein bar and, getting into retail, more B2B stuff down the road. Like there's just, we haven't even scratched the surface. So getting the community in early for me is a big deal, right? At a valuation that's like still reasonable. Whereas, 3 years from now, we'll be in that position where like, it's people will feel like they've missed the boat. And this is an opportunity to still get in pretty much like at ground zero,
Okay, well, I'll add that link to the show notes. I mean, I can speak just from knowing you and knowing the brand. It's on a rocket ship, so I can attest to that. This is a great time. This is an awesome opportunity. This is one of those ones you'll look back and people will be like, "Shit, I should have joined in on this." Without a doubt, I say that wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Shane. It means a lot. I mean, you know firsthand because you're managing our Amazon store.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's incredible.
we've seen what's happened, in a short period of time there. So I can only imagine what's going to, the future. And we didn't talk about Creatures Sleep, which is our sleep support hot chocolate, which I've actually been having as chocolate milk, and it is so bomb as chocolate milk. In the summertime, and we'll be launching the protein bar very soon. Protein bar is going to have creatine in it, so it's going to be a really cool product.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone listening, the full product, like I think meal one is the perfect way to get into the brand. Like that's obviously to start your day. Sleep is this awesome product because it's the end of your day. So like it becomes this cycle of morning and night. And then, yeah, it'd be cool to have you back on once the bar launches in a few months at some point and share a little bit more about it. But the bar is really cool. It's really unique. Everyone listening that knows me knows, I'm obsessed with the bar space, was at RX Bar for a long time. So this is different. Like this is a really cool product that you're working on. The first time I heard about it, I was hyped. I was like, this is actually differentiated in a way that the bar space, this is going to be huge. So it'll give consumers a morning product, a product that you could use whenever throughout the day as a bar product, right? It could be in the middle of the day. It could be a breakfast alternative. It could be a million different things. And then the night product. So yeah, you're crushing it, man. You've been such a fun brand to work with because you're good people. You have awesome products. And I think you're just getting started. I really do. I think this is just the beginning, man. I know you've had a lot of success with different endeavors, but this one, just from even getting to work with you guys, this one seems different, even in my perspective of hearing your story a few times. So
thanks you so much, man. Absolutely.
I got to ask one final question as we sign off. This is one I ask every single founder that comes on here. You mentioned pen and paper.
Dogs, leave me alone. Sit down. I'll feed you in a minute.
It must be like witching hour. Right? So I'm sure you saw the cat that came in behind me. I was like, when the hell did you get in here?
Well, these guys are like, Dad, where's my food? Where's my food?
It's dinner time. Get off this podcast. Okay, I'll do this super quick. Get you out of here. So pen and paper, you said you use when you're on a run. What other tools, Michael, do you put around you to map out goals, map out plans, and just get shit done? Like, are you always pen and paper? Do you use apps? Like, what do you do to get your shit done, not only for the year, but today? Like, what does Michael wake up and like, where's his to-do list, for example?
I mean, I think I'm pretty old school. I use, we made a Creatures of Habit journal that also acts as a daily planner. So
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we don't sell them anymore, but I made sure to save 20 of them. So I had them for the next couple of years. Because each one is worth 3 months. So I use that. I write out my day every single morning. It also prompts me to, talk about my habits and some free flow writing. So I really do use that as my to-do. I feel like it's so important for me to write things out. It helps me retain a lot better than an app. But on the go, if I don't have, if I'm not like able to write shit down, I use voice notes a lot. I use voice notes a lot. So I'll literally just be like, hey, dude, don't forget to do this. Or, hey, this is an idea that you had, blah, 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 blah. And, I'll have them transcribed and then just sent to me via email. So I think voice notes is like a really, really great tool. Like so many people have it their phone is in their hand constantly. If you have an idea, if you have something that you need to remember or want to remember, it's just such a quick, fast way to keep things, keep things top of mind and relevant. I guess the other thing is I just think it's really important for people to keep their schedule on point, is to chunk your days up. I love time blocking, and whether you stick to it or not is irrelevant. It's having the wherewithal to look at your schedule and literally chunk out your day, so that you have a target to aim at, and sort of where your day is going to be. I know between 3 and 5 o'clock every single day, I am going to get work done, but that is the time where I'm taking meetings. I'm taking meetings between 3 and 5 o'clock because I like to spend the beginning of my day on offense.
Oh,
If I'm
yeah.
taking
Okay.
meetings, I'm on defense. I'm on defense. I'm on defense. So I really try not to like attack my my incoming emails until I've spent at least an hour and a half to 2 hours in the beginning of the day writing emails based on my to-do list. Cause that's me playing offense. That's me like being like walking into the ring on my toes, like swinging, as opposed
Yeah.
to being like, all right, I'm blocking, because every time you write an email in response to an email, you're going to get a response back.
Yes.
And that email, so like I'd rather leave those emails unread until 11 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon and plow through offense and then start playing defense.
I love that, man. I honestly, the voice memo thing is one I don't use. I should totally use that. That's a brilliant idea. I do I do something similar. I have a full focus planner. It's probably similar that I've used for years. It's like religion too, of like every morning just like writing it out, and then I try to time block. I've like had a hot and cold relationship with time blocking where I like overdid the time blocking, and I was time blocking like so many things that then one thing gets out of whack, and then it's like the whole day's catastrophe. I don't know if you've ever done that before.
Well, like for me, it's just yeah. So I always chunk it out. It's a minimum of 2 hours.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah. Like I like 45-minute chunks don't work for me. So
Yeah.
it's got to be 2 hours or more, and most of the time I'm derailed, but at least it gives me an opportunity. Like I have an assistant. She knows I'm not taking meetings before 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And the ideal is all my meetings get chunked between 3 and 5 o'clock, because I'd much rather spend the end of my day taking meetings and then give my 5 to 6 hour a way to wrap the day than just have meetings sporadically throughout the day,
I love that. Yeah. I'm going to probably steal your offensive defensive email thing. I have a bad habit. Like I start my day and I'm just like Slack, Teams, email. And it does feel, you're right. Like I'm just trying to make sure I'm responsive more so than anything, right? Trying to be a good
I mean, look,
provider.
I think that I have been lucky and it's taken me a long time, but I've surrounded myself with a team of people that are handling most of the business and give me an opportunity to innovate, right? Like
that makes sense.
if everybody's nose to the grindstone on operations and marketing and finance, who is bringing innovation and creativity and who's thinking? You know what I'm saying?
It's a great point. Yeah.
Like if people like thinking is working, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
And if you don't have time to think, meaning there's nothing on your calendar for a period of time, nobody's thinking, everybody is just working, and it's so hard to move forward without thinking.
That's a great point, man. What a great way to wrap this, because that's so true. It's true. You can just get in this cycle of you're just like checking boxes to get work done.
You're just on defense, man.
Yeah.
You're just on defense. You're not strategizing. You're not watching for. I always bring it back to like a sports analogy, but for me, it's boxing, right? Like I know that when I used to get into that ring, my goal was to pretend like I was going to throw a jab, a right hand, to see what that person does, right? So if I throw a jab and that person goes like this, I know that every time I jab, I can follow up with a body shot because he's always going to go like this. Sure. So I would just look around. So I'm strategizing. I'm thinking. I'm not coming in immediately and taking, that's why you see a lot of people like boxers, that first round is like typically a lot of dancing around, moving around, trying to see like what happens. And I think about business the first like that as well. Like I'm not going to come in like, boom, 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 out of nowhere. Like I'm going to take the first part of my day. I'm going to look at my to-do list. I'm going to say, all right, I am going to actually write. I'm going to draw lines through the first 5 things. Let's strategize on how to do this. And then I strategically go for it. And I also am thinking like, if I write this email, am I going to get bombarded with a number of CCs on this email? Get 4 emails to respond to? Like, let's just be smart about it. Let's try to actually make this first part of my day super efficient.
I love that, man. What great advice for everyone listening. Hell yeah. Appreciate that. Well, Michael, thank you so much, man. I know we went a little bit over. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. And we'll make sure this drops. We'll have links to all the crowdfunding. And I'll link everything for sleep. And then in the future, we'll figure out a way to either rerun it back or have you on again to do bars. But thanks, man. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me,
brother. For you.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. All right, buddy. Well, thanks for taking the time, and we'll talk soon. Awesome, man.